Hi, everyone. We are going to get situated here for a little bit. I'm going to make sure we're actually on all of the channels. So let's make sure, are we actually live on YouTube? I think we are. And then let's see, are we live on?
Gotta love how long it takes LinkedIn.
Okay. See whether we're live on LinkedIn. Welcome in, everybody. I think we're live.
It just went live for me right now.
Okay. Yay, there we are.
Yay!
Okay, I just don't want to be hearing myself in triplicate or quadruple. And then last but not least, double check if we're live on Instagram. It's like, my goodness, how many more channels can we be live on? I think we're good. I think this is it, right?
Yes.
Yes. Welcome in, everybody. Just want to get started here. So turn down the music here. So if you're checking this out, we are on multiple platforms. We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And my name is Lillian Liang Emlet. I am founder of Transforming Healthcare Coaching. We have a podcast, a YouTube channel, and we coach healthcare professionals. We help them level up in life through leadership, well-being, and their whole entire holistic life journey. And I am joined tonight with Jackie Hallberg. You want to say hi to everybody?
Hello. I'm so thankful to be here with you, Lillian. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Jackie is a social worker, and she runs a nonprofit that focuses on reducing crime and conflict. She is a certified mediator. She is host of LinkedIn live events, Just Jacks and Guests, every week. She also is founder of Just Jacks Advising. And her passion really is cultivating positive relationships, increasing romance, and encouraging everyone to be a happier and healthier person. And so we're really excited to have a really frank conversation this month in February, just less than a week out from Valentine's Day. Just because I think relationships, whether they're at home or whether they're at work, can really influence each other. And so I just want to give a shout out to the fact that, how did I meet Jackie? So we met here on LinkedIn, actually on LinkedIn Lives, on something called Wishful Wednesdays. I don't know if you want to give a little bit of background on what are Wishful Wednesdays, so that people can look for them.
I would love that. And our next one is going to be the last Wednesday in February at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we, my partner and I, Damian Kinsey, he and I decided to do LinkedIn audio events way back when they were getting really popular on LinkedIn about talking. We were both working in nonprofit with youth, and we were really seeing a lot of burnout and families that were exhausted with their kids' behavior. So we started a room on that called Finding Your Purpose, like how to work through those tough jobs and the tough situations at home. And what we found is not only did people want to talk about that, they were losing a lot of hope too. So we turned and added the second room, Wishful Wednesday, to say, let's talk about your hopes and dreams with the world. Some people would come on there and say they wished for world peace. Some people would say they wish their dog wasn't so sick. Other people would wish that they had enough money to get to work this week and put gas in the car. Other people would wish that their business would take off, or they'd get more clients, or maybe people would follow their social media challenge. And we thought we would do that show just once. And people just said, please come back. We need to do this. And we want to support people. And you were there almost every single time. It was amazing. And it's like, without that show, we wouldn't have probably connected as quickly, at least, if not at all.
Guys, right. What I love about Wishful Wednesdays was the fact that it's international. I mean, there would be people from all around the world tuning in late at night, and it would just go on. You had to like turn off the video. I mean, the audio feed. This is back when there was LinkedIn Live audios, but it was really easy for people to join and listen, be on the go, and be able to contribute. So I do miss those days.
I do too.
Yeah.
Different than having to have your hair done and wear a necklace or anything like that, because nobody could see your face. They saw your profile little picture you had on LinkedIn. That's it.
Right. And so many years ago too, I think one thing to let everybody know is I had never really been on social media. I really was not a blogger. I really didn't do any of these types of things. And so I started with the LinkedIn live audios. And it was through Wishful Wednesdays and with you and Damien that I started to see that there's a world out there, make connections, meet people, and then over time refine our platform. And so now obviously we have the podcast and the YouTube channel, and we've grown. And I have to admit, to me, it's like now coming full circle to be able to give back and amplify and cross amplify, because it's really important that we all lift each other up in the sea that is life.
And isn't it so cool to be able to reach out to people not in your hometown, that's not just in your business community or who you already do workshops and meetings with? It's so cool having that global view. We get feedback that's different than maybe what we would get from our normal colleagues or our normal people that we go to work with every day. It's enlightening. It's like every time I come on a show, whether I'm hosting, whether I'm a guest, I learn something I never expected to learn on that show.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So tonight we want to talk about dating and relationships. And so I guess I'll start off with, from your work as a relationship coach and as a social worker, you get to see all kinds of relationships. What are some of the core ingredients that you feel are necessary in a healthy relationship?
Oh,
And where exactly do healthcare leaders most often underestimate the
no.
importance of the personal and the private relationships as people show up at work?
Oh, girl, that's a lot. So you may have to break that down for me a couple times. So first of all, the best thing in any relationship, I don't care if you're dating, I don't care if you're married for 25 years, I don't care if you're a friend relationship or colleagues, it's communication, positive communication. And I always preface this, and I know some people get a little bit when I say this, but if you cannot talk to your partner about important things, the way the world matters to you, what feels right for you, what is safe for you, what it is when you've had a bad day at work, if you're not being recognized or anything, if you're not comfortable using words with them about that stuff, why would you let them touch your body without clothes on? I mean, come on. We're willing to be completely transparent here, but you're not willing to use your words and let people know. And I think with leaders in any capacity, we tend to just assume people are going to listen to us or they know what we want because we've said it once. When we're talking healthcare leaders, whole different ball game because I think I think I've shared with you before in the past I was a ER social worker. I have been a elementary school counselor, but I did that actually through a federally qualified health center. So I had to have interaction with the doctor on every single case, every case note. We would talk about the co-working together. And, I've done a few other things in the medical capacity, and it's not for me. It's working in a hospital, in a doctor's office is not for me. So first of all, I give so much credit for those of you that work in healthcare. It is a different ball game. And those of us that don't have that draw to it, that don't vibe in that capacity, we don't understand all the stress you go through, all the demands, all the literal life and death stuff you see every day. And for us that maybe work in a different type of office, even when I worked in the school, different than when I worked in the hospital. And oh my gosh, stress in a school is pretty intense. Stress in certain factories and businesses are, but healthcare, you are on your toes literally all day long, not knowing if somebody is going to die in front of you. If people are going to get called in, are you going to have to mandate people? That stress is nonstop. And when you go home to a partner that doesn't understand that, or you haven't felt comfortable communicating how intense it is, there are some issues, especially if you walk in the door and you're just like, you just saw death. And your partner's like, babe, you want to go do this? And it's like, or if they're like, why didn't you do the dishes before you left for work this morning? It's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Yeah. And I think we do struggle with communicating our needs because so many of us either assume you can tell what we're needing or that you can read our nonverbals, or maybe we told you 6 months ago or 2 years ago and we just assume you remember it. It's tough. And no matter what your position is, say you're a leader in a high position and you have a lot of stress, you have a lot of demands on your time, you have reports and staffing issues, and maybe your partner has a position where maybe they are also a leader in a different capacity, or maybe there's somebody that is a frontline worker or somebody that doesn't have all that additional pressure. Sometimes there's a little bit of miscommunication in terms of, are you trying to act like the boss in this house? Because that's not how we roll. So it can really, it can be a
Mhm.
tough situation if you haven't actually had those conversations before it gets icky, or before it gets to a point where maybe you're so ticked off that they aren't listening to you, or you kind of treat them like a staff member that you're ready to fire or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know if I hit all your question there, but I was trying to kind
Yeah.
of condense it into some of that.
Yeah, and those are really great points. I think the fact that we are so chronically for so long caring for others and putting our needs aside and bottling them up, at some point you feel like you just want to be cared for. And you just want a safe place just to unload. And then the hard thing is, well, that's not always your partner. That actually isn't always to bring all your crap home and leave it there for somebody else to process. And so finding that time and finding a healthy way is not always so easy. And I think the challenge is even with your teammates, that doesn't always work either. So I think it's really being aware of what you need and then also recognizing that how do you nurture these relationships when some of it is going to bleed over and they signed up for it. That's okay.
Yeah.
And some of it is not okay to really burden other people with some of our issues.
Yeah, I love how you said that, because we go into certain professions knowing, especially in healthcare and social work, that we have strict confidentiality. There's HIPAA laws, there's all the things. And there are some things we can't actually share with our partners. And sometimes our partners get upset about that. You can trust me, you can trust me. Well, I can trust you now, but what about in 3 years if you decide to divorce me? Are you gonna, and that I took an oath. I can't share that with you. I can give you some background, but that's something that it can be really tough for other people too, is that they actually feel sometimes that they're not, almost that they're being lied to, maybe, or they're not being shared with. Elizabeth just said she thinks we're frozen. So I don't know if that's something on LinkedIn's end or Restream. I know to me it looks like we're still talking when I pull it up on LinkedIn. So I don't know if that's something that is a personal device thing or if it's something else going on.
Let's see. I think we're
I've,
still.
yeah, I've got us rolling on mine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
Sorry about that, Elizabeth.
was that on YouTube or was that on?
Looks like LinkedIn. Yep.
Interesting. Okay, because I didn't get the comment to come through because I think it must be a LinkedIn thing.
So I was on a show earlier, and they were using StreamYard, and none of the comments were showing at all for those of us on the screen. It was so frustrating. So I'm noticing some things aren't coming up either. So I see a lot of great people already in the audience. If you can't see that yet, it's
Oh,
pretty cool.
but I can't. Finally, did see now. Oh, look at
Yay!
that! Yay! Look at everybody. Thank you so much for putting in the chat and restream. So that I'm
Yay!
grateful for. So thank you. So getting back to the conversation, what I did want to say was the fact that I think we also don't talk about it. A lot of times we often think it's sort of we're not supposed to talk about our relationships at home. And if you have a family, you talk about the kids, you talk about the weather, you talk about your pets, but we don't really get deeper into if things are really okay. And so we do bottle it up. We all pretend, at some point. And I think that also is a hard thing, especially as a leader. Is you want to make sure everyone's thriving. You really do care for people, but then you do also have to understand that people do have boundaries. Of a lot of things are not okay to talk about at work, and to respect that as well.
Yeah, that respect goes a long way, doesn't it? And you kind of asked me at the beginning of the show, what is a quality of healthy relationships? And I would say respect has to be, just as important as communication, because I may not understand your workload. I might not understand, oh, there's monthly reports or year-end reports or things like that. But I can respect you enough when you tell me this is going to be a little bit more intense week, or I have clinicals this week, I have new things going on. So when we use our words and then our partner respects us to give us that grace or that experience, ooh, good things can happen. And if you are in a relationship where you're not feeling respected, I mean, you wouldn't tolerate that at the office if you had a staff member treating you like that, or a colleague. And if you're tolerating it at home and not working on that relationship, you're going to bring that back to the office. You're going to bring it back to the hospital. You're going to bring it back to your patients or your colleagues. And it's going to just get worse and worse for you, no matter what kind of leadership position you are, title you have in your name, or anything.
Right, right. So I think the one thing to also understand for everyone to realize is that chronic stress reduces your empathy, your patience, and your conflict tolerance. And so whenever your relationships are strained at work, it affects your home. And when your relationships at home, it affects your work. And so even the World Health Organization recognizes the chronic stress is a risk factor for interpersonal violence. And the reality is, interpersonal violence doesn't start with physical, it starts with verbal, right? And just like you said, so if the foundation is good, healthy verbal communication, that's where things start to go sour. And it goes sour for years before it becomes a real issue. And then by then, you don't really recognize it because, well, you sort of normalized it.
Oh, normalizing bad stuff is the worst because it confuses our brain. Our brain is like, this is not normal, Jackie. What are you doing, Jackie? Why are you doing this? This isn't normal. And then we just shove those feelings down from our brain, and then it manifests into anger and bitterness and anxiety and depression and maybe tummy aches and maybe high blood pressure and all the things that we're trying to make sure our other people are not experienced, but we tend to do it ourselves sometimes.
Yeah. So you work with families that navigate disruption and then reintegration.
Mhm.
And so you've seen repair. You've actually probably can tell us some really heartwarming stories of some really bad things that have happened and things have gotten better.
Yeah.
How do you how do you repair after trust has been strained?
Oh, girl, it is different for every single person. It's also different on the length of the relationship, the dynamics of the relationship, the communication before the rupture happened or the negative situation came into place. So, depending on what your thoughts are on your relationship. So if you are sticking with your partner because of religious beliefs, because you don't want your mom getting mad at you, you don't want people saying, oh, she got divorced again. If that's why you're sticking with somebody and you're just dealing with it, you're probably not working through the rough situation that happened to rebuild that trust, to decide if you're really willing to move forward and pass things. If you truly love and honor that person and you understand there were some different reasons why something happened to really cause a rift in the relationship or a potential ending, and you want to work on that communication, you can't go into it, just kind of like, yeah, I'll go and sit through that. I've done that before, and as a therapist going to therapy, we know what they're going to ask. We know why they're asking. We tend to know how to play the game or just pretend we're not going to answer anything. And you are just doing a disservice to yourself because you're not going in fully vested. So it's not that you're weak if you take your partner back. It's not that you're not confident. It's not that, you're worried you can't have anybody else. You really want to work on that relationship. It's going to take work and you have to be willing to feel all the feels and watch your partner deal with how you are working through it. If they're trying to rush you through your processing, if they're trying to force you to just forget everything, if they are trying to intimidate you, that is huge warning signs too.
Yeah.
And you are not going to align the right way, and you are going to have those icky feelings in your tummy that I can't trust him anymore. I can't trust her. She's out doing things. This isn't going forward for our relationship. And so when you can actually do it authentically, and it's like, I can't believe this happened. I'm so angry that you lied about this or this happened. But how are we going to move forward? And if your partner doesn't have any idea how to move forward, whew, big warning side. But I'd rather them say, I don't even know. I don't know if I can change. I don't know if I can be the person that I was 10 years ago, 4 years ago when you married me, but I'm willing to try. That's huge. That's huge. I believe firmly not one relationship should end in anger.
Mm.
I mean, you love that person at some point in time, but we grow apart. We have different life experiences. Our bodies change. And depending on when you started that relationship, you may have started growing apart because of career or because of children or something. You're not necessarily the same person you were 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And to think that you have to still feel the exact same, it's going to set you back and it's going to be something you're not going to be able to probably work through correctly. But when you do work through it, people are going to challenge you and they're going to blame you. Why? I would have just divorced her. Or I would have kicked him to the curb. It's not for them. You are making your relationship decisions for yourself. Hopefully, not even for your partner or your kids, but for yourself. Okay.
Right.
makes a difference.
Yeah. You bring up a really good point. I think also there's a comment in the chat box about growth doesn't happen when you're surrounded by weeds. And
Elizabeth,
that's
I
one way
love
of
that.
looking at it. And I think the other question too is like you also have to have space to be able to grow together, right? We selectively prune on purpose plants so that they can actually grow and thrive in the garden, and you're really strategic. And if you are willing to do the work on both parties and both sides, and I think the question is just like you commented, you can grow completely apart to be no longer compatible. And if you can communicate and really bring your authentic self, I do think what ends up happening both at work and at home is we often cover it with a facade of this is what we think society wants us to look like, or we think this is what it's supposed to look like when I'm in the boardroom, or I'm at work, or I'm at with my team, or I'm
Yeah.
at home. It's supposed to look a certain way, and so we just pretend. And the longer we pretend, we fake it till we make it. And then at some point it bubbles and it festers. And then at some point you're like, no, actually, I do need to take a stand. And taking
Yeah.
a stand is hard. Taking a stand is not easy.
And when you're faking it, you're not getting that true dopamine release when you see your partner and you're like, oh, I love him so much. Oh, I'm so glad she came home from work and is here for me. You're like, okay, I got to deal with this person again. And so you're actually creating more tension and you're stressing your brain out because you're trying to lie to yourself, and your brain and your body knows the truth. And it's, I would much rather somebody to say, I am so freaking angry at you right now. I need some time to digest this, than to say, everything's perfect in my world.
Yeah. People, colleagues. So we've had situations where, colleagues, and I think you can also assume that everybody at work has something going on in their personal life,
Mm.
100%, whether it's medical, spiritual, mental, there's all kinds of things we're all dealing with at all times, financial. And so when we think about, as we interact in our team, we often are the ones who it's really always so sad when we work right next to somebody and it's missed in some way because we're healthcare professionals. We're supposed to know how to screen for these things. But how much does like intimate relationships at home affect how someone shows up at work? And how do you help your colleagues, or how do you sort of determine that? Like if there's a problem, like when there's a warning sign where I probably should recommend help, right? Just we know this for depression. We know how to look for suicidal tendencies, homicidal tendencies. How about this relationship issues?
Yeah. Well, one of the number one reasons that people tend to call in sick is usually because of what's going on in the home, whether they're fighting with their spouse, whether their kids skipping school, whether there is miscommunication issues. Sometimes it has nothing to do with being sick. It's more of the stress. And so many people don't want to bring that to their employers and say, my household is messed up right now, and I don't know who's coming and going, if I'm going to get divorced, if somebody's doing this. We don't feel comfortable even as employees doing that, because a lot of times our leaders don't provide that culture. We are here to do a job. We are here to save other people's lives. Leave your personal crap at the door. We got to do this. And to a point, they're right in some capacities, but there's no way that somebody can work at less than 90% consistently and be quality and truly be able to recognize, whoa, I need to step back. Even though you need me right now, I may mess something up. And when you're talking healthcare, again, you're talking life and death. And you don't want somebody that has all that stress at home, that they're confused if they're, oh my gosh, is somebody cheating on me? Is somebody draining the bank account? Did they do something? Going in, and that is the main thought in your head, and you're supposed to go in and do something highly important to somebody else. So in terms of leadership, I don't think it needs to be just I need to pull you aside and see how your relationships are. I think it needs to be, hey, everybody, as a staff, your home life is crucial in your self-care. If you need to be referred somewhere, if something feels out of line, I am available, to come talk to, or we have a EAP program. We have therapists on staff. Do what feels right to you. And hearing that consistently,
Mhm.
that's when we start to say, oh my gosh, I never thought maybe I could go to family counseling, or maybe there is somebody I can dump on for a little bit and they can help get me to decide, do I go to a coach? Do I go to a therapist? Is it time to look at possibly separating from my person? And so creating that culture does not have to be this intense, oh my gosh, I'm uncomfortable. Are they going to say I'm talking personally, type of a thing? But if you can tell somebody is consistently, they're not coming to work, they're having weird reasons, excuses. If you were to see something like bruises, or you can just tell they're not sleeping, if you have that relationship that it's okay and you're not crossing boundaries, it's absolutely okay to just say, Jackie, something seems just a little different for you. Is there anything I can support you in? Instead of saying, tell me everything, or I need to
Right.
send you here, is there anything I can do to support you in? And that may make that person a little bit embarrassed, or like, oh my gosh, I didn't know anybody could see what this was going on. Or they might just break down and be like, thank you for acknowledging what I've been coming to work for the last 3 months in fighting back tears all day. You finally acknowledged what I'm going through. It may be enough right there that they don't even need to see a counselor or somebody. Just being recognized that life is kind of crappy outside of work right now can be so important and powerful.
That's such a great point. It's one of those things where you start to realize it is just like depression. It is saving a life, which I think leads into my next question: is in situations that involve intimate partner violence for healthcare workers, how often does the workplace actually become part of the story,
Mm.
either through threats or stalking or safety concerns?
Yeah, I think we are going to see a lot more statistics on that, unfortunately, until more people are healed inside. People don't want to end the life of their spouse, or threaten their spouse, or hurt their spouse when they are happy and healthy inside. So many people grow up around violence, so they either internalize that, think it's normal, or they get very threatened at the very potential sign that something might not go the way that they wanted to. And when you have a spouse or a partner, or maybe it's even somebody you dated one time that had some kind of a connection to you, or some kind of a stalker situation, even if there's nothing about it, but that becomes something that's your reality, where do we spend the majority of our time? Most of us, especially in hospital settings, spend more time at the workplace than they do at home most of the time. So, number one, it's an easy target. A lot of people don't expect that. They think if there is going to be violence, it would be in the home, away from other people. People don't think violence would actually happen in public. And over the past probably 15 to 20 years, it's really escalated. And being able to have procedures in place that if you do have a staff that does have concerns that they could be harmed, that their partner might be out to get them, maybe they are somebody that is trying to leave an abusive situation, if they don't feel safe and comfortable telling you as their supervisor, as their mentor, even as a colleague, it, shame on us for not having a safe culture for them to say, there's a chance something might go down in the parking lot. He may chase me. She might come and do this. You may get some phone calls saying that I'm doing all this horrible stuff to try to get me fired because they're mad at me, because that happens too. And trying to shame somebody is a huge warning sign that there's going to be an escalation if something else happens. And trying to make sure that the environment is safe, whether there needs to be safety protocols that need to be reassessed or put in place. Maybe certain people aren't allowed in certain areas, or maybe this person gets escorted to their car at the end of the workday until they decide that they're no longer in need of that. But if they don't feel comfortable coming there, if they feel like, oh, they're going to think I can't handle my business, or I'm weak, or I'm whining, or I'm just, making it up, why would they come to you as leader? So leadership, I don't care if it's a 2-person business you're running. I don't care if it's a small doctor's office. I don't care if you're in a department store, if you're in a mega hospital. You should have a culture that is safe for people to come and disclose if they think there's a threat in any capacity, but especially some of our higher we used to hear about the post office. That was a place where there could be a lot of violence, but unfortunately, healthcare is a rising area that there is a lot of violence that comes into the workforce, and trying to figure out how employees can come in when they are feeling threatened or unsafe, and knowing if they don't show up, they won't have any
Mhm.
safety because I'd be home with that person, or they might be alone. But then if they come to work, they have a lot of guilt. What if I do bring that threat here, or what if I bring violence here? So trying to figure out that culture change to make sure that it's safe, and it's not going to get people to say, oh, today I'm having somebody threaten me, so I'm just not going to come into work. That's not going to happen. Just like when we talk about suicide, that doesn't increase the numbers. It helps people actually feel like, wow, you can tell that I'm hurting so bad that I could actually come to you if I do feel these thoughts again. And that's where we've got to change the culture, because again, people that hurt their partners are hurting, and we do not know where they are going to respond in any capacity. We can't say, you look like somebody that's going to follow through, or you're not going to ever lay your hands on them, or you're never going to follow them to the workplace. So really making sure that it's a good culture vibe can help, because every one of us is hurting in some way. We do not know what goes on behind anybody's closed door. I don't care if they are the big boss. I don't care if they drive the $1 million vehicles. People got stuff going on at home, and it will transpire into the workforce in some capacity. And if it is stuff that could lead to violence and you don't feel safe because maybe you are the boss and you are the one. I mean, I worked at a domestic violence clinic. I don't know if I told you that or not. I remember very clearly a lady coming in. She had to have been mid 40s to mid 50s. She was the wife of a physician, and the physician was known in our community. And she's like, nobody would believe me if I shared. I can't even believe I pulled into your parking lot to talk to somebody. I am so worried. He is literally saving people's lives 1 minute and comes home and does horrific things to me. And I don't know who to trust and who I can go to. So it doesn't matter your level of position. You could be the victim, or you could be the person that could absolutely explode on somebody at some time. So let's heal ourselves first, and then heal our partners and our employees.
Right. Yes. And I think the reality, I think we have seen such an uptick in violence in our emergency departments and inside our clinics and inside the hospital buildings, that I think most healthcare systems really are reevaluating sort of how are we accessing care, how are we keeping everyone safe, and having this culture where everyone does need to become more educated, not only in just verbal de-escalation skills, but also how can you access help, notify people, and it's normalized. I mean,
Yeah.
these relationships, doesn't matter what title or what position or what field you're in. You're immune. You're not going to be immune to having these problems. It's really important for leaders to make sure that they know what to do, what are the policies,
Yes.
how to get help, and if you don't have a policy in your system, is to start convening the group who might be interested to make those things, whether it's safety
Yes.
buttons or ways on the phone to activate the trigger and really involve safety and security for the different buildings in the clinic. There's so many, as we've seen from the many shootings in this country, there's very small entry points where
Yes.
these things can happen. And so it's really important that we all speak up for ideas, because they're all great ideas at this point now. I think we've all seen the uptick in
Okay.
general.
And thank you for saying everybody, because sometimes it's just people in very high management positions that will make a couple safety decisions or insert a policy that they think could work. Where if you're the person that actually does see that door propped open sometimes, or there's a light out in that parking lot that nobody's repaired for a long time, that hallway, there's a couple hidden areas or closets that people could hide in. If you're never down on those floors or walking through that part of the parking lot, how would you know? So trying to get, especially when it's a big, like the hospital or a large corporation or something where there's a lot of entry points, like you talked about, trying to get people of every level involved in that safety discussion can make huge differences. And contacting local police, some will do walkthroughs and they will do extra trainings, and there's opportunities to really not scare people away, prepare them, because when you're prepared, there's more of a chance that you'll never need to use the things that you prepare for, but when you're not prepared, you don't know what to do. And you may think it's just another patient that's upset, or another employee that's having a bad day, that's just screaming a little bit or just a little frustrated, that could really literally take the lives of humans that were never going to work that day or into that capacity to think that something like that would happen to them.
Yeah. And it's really, I mean, I know unfortunately of physicians who have been killed in the clinic
Mm.
or in the parking lot, or been the perpetrator in terms of murder cases. And it is extremely sad that the society gets to this point. And I guess I'm wondering, in healthcare, sometimes disrespect and incivility are normalized. Like we're often a
Oh,
little bit testy or unprofessional with each other, and we wave a blind eye because they're pretty senior. From a relational lens, what damage does normalizing this kind of incivility cause over time in the workplace?
oh, that's one of the reasons I'm no longer working in a hospital. It was very, there is a reason for hierarchy, and there is a reason that some people have a medical degree versus an associate's or something different. So I understand that absolutely. But just because you are somebody that might be at a higher title or a higher education level, a higher rate of pay, does not mean that you deserve to be evil to other people, even the way you tone of voice. Because what if that person was finally ready to disclose to you about a situation or a safety threat or something, and then you go and shame them? That reinforces to those staff that they're not as valued, they're not as worthy. And that could actually, number one, it could put them back with that abuser, or it could make them actually act out and do something that wasn't expected. And so trying to figure out what that happy medium is, because we have to have people that are the leaders, that are the people making the life and death decisions or the policies or whatever. But we also have to have, I love that you're yawning, because this is late at night and some other people, oh, you're not? Oh, you're drinking?
I'm coughing. I'm muting
Oh,
so you don't have to hear me
oh,
coughing.
oh, honey, cough away. I don't care, because we're talking about healthcare, right? We want to be safe. Because I'm like, am I putting you to sleep, my dear? Because you are so great, and I thought that was like so real. But if you are somebody that thinks that you are elevated when you demean somebody, you're possibly part of the problem. Not even possibly, you are part of the problem. And are you demeaning other people like that? And are you doing it because you're not happy, because you are dealing with trauma literally all day long? And instead of saying, I can't believe that just happened, or I had to be involved in that, or I've literally been in surgery for 12 hours without being able to rest, I'm all wound up as well, then your brain could retaliate on somebody that you didn't even mean to yell at, or that you didn't mean to do something to. And if you're not taking care of yourself and you see trauma and death all the time, you're not Superman. You are not a robot. We need to figure out what our self care looks like. And so, implementing that. And if you are a leader and you do see staff issues where there are some power and control dynamics being used and there is some inappropriateness. Now, I know sometimes there has to be some inappropriateness in the jokes and things like that, because when you're dealing with life and death all the time, you got to try to have some dark humor or something like that. But it's different when it's intentional and it becomes a bullying, or it becomes some kind of a harassment issue either, because again, you don't know how rough that other person is ready to explode on somebody else. And that could be the thing. And if you're just kind of tolerating that because that's always how it's been in healthcare, or the doctors always get this pass or this or that, it's going to come back and bite you at some point.
Right. And I think that really does sort of speak to, I've been in certain places where the culture really is, if you're going to be like that, that person doesn't stay in that institution very long. And that's a great healthy work environment. And so I think places that do tolerate it, after the show is over, we will I'll put in a link for an article about how um
Mm.
verbal situations and precede physical. So verbal abuse. So when it becomes abusive verbally, that is a problem. There's a first warning sign, and
Mhm.
this is not something that you often have to look at the individual. It's not something you can just train it away and coach it away. There's something deeper and more serious going on with that individual, and so really trying to get ahead of it rather than tolerating it is really important. But
Yeah.
I did not want to spend the entire evening being negative. What
Deep.
I want to also end on is, how can we actually cultivate healthy relationships? Because, having care for ourselves, care for our partners, care for our family and home, it's not easy. I mean, when working 12-hour shifts
Mm-mm.
or 10-hour shifts and you don't have much capacity left, do you have any tips to give our audience in terms of how do you keep relationships healthy when you are in a high performance, high demand field?
Oh, yeah. So I was told something, gosh, maybe a year or so ago, that I just cannot even shake. And it is, I used to always use the word, oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Work is so busy. It just comes naturally. And so many of us do that. And they looked at me, and I can't even remember if it was virtual or if it was in person. I can't remember the exact person that told me. And I think I've heard a different couple different iterations since then. But they looked at me and they said, Jackie, who schedules all your appointments?
It's funny.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Why don't we schedule time with our partner? Hey, this is a super hectic week at work for you. I have a little more downtime. Maybe I'll do a little bit more around the house. I'll deal with the kids. I'll do this. But when it comes to Saturday morning, honey, I need you. I want some alone time with you. Let's get a sitter. Let's take a break. If you need a nap to catch up after your busy week, that's okay. But then we need some alone time, whether it's intimacy, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's going out for coffee, whether it's doing something that both of you just find enjoyment in. When we just live in hustle culture, oh, I got to be attached to my phone. I got to take call again. I got to go in. I got to help. I got to help. You stop being a human and you just become that hustle. I got to fix. I got to save lives. I got to do whatever I got to do. I got to do all this stuff to get money and to do all the things. You don't become that person. And if you can't become your person again, how can you be there for your partner? Because they're going to just start feeling like they're sucking more out of you. And then that's going to start building those walls up. And we don't want that. We want our partner to be the person that we can just, I need a hug. It's been a rough day. Or I am so wound up for the way he talked to me at work today. I need like 20 minutes before we can even have a conversation because I am still needing to decompress right now. Using those words, sending them a text before you leave the office. Today really sucked. I need a few minutes, or I need to go drive down by the lake, or I need to go get a ice cream cone before we eat dinner. Do you want me to pick you up on that kind of conversation? Building in fun time, but building in time that says, if we are both in high stress positions, if one of us is more high stress than the other, we may not even understand it. We're both high stressed. We will tend to find somebody that can lift us up. If our partner isn't, it might be a colleague. It might be somebody that we find on social media. And if they're, oh, you shouldn't have all that tough stress. Oh, that's where we start to open those doors to infidelity and all the other stuff that could happen. Because if we're not feeling lifted by our partner, or we feel when we tell them, hey, it's been a rough day and I need this from you, can you please give it to me? And they're like, yeah, I don't have time for that. Or I'm busier than you are. Or, I'm not going to do that for you because you didn't do it for me yesterday. That's when those fractured relationships happen. So if you want your partner to be the one lifting you up, are you lifting them up? Are you balancing each other? Are you finding time in your busy, busy, busy schedule to say, this is our uninterrupted time. This is when we work on just us. This is when we remind each other that we're husband and wife, wife and wife, whatever your thing is, that we are okay as a couple. And it may not be every week that you get a date night or you get a 2-hour block together. It may be twice a month, 3 times a month, but figuring out a time before it gets, oh, I don't even know what it's like to just go out to dinner with my wife, or I don't even know the last time we've had time alone on the couch without the kids jumping on us and stuff like that. It's going to go and it's going to start becoming normal, and then you're going to forget to work on yourselves.
Yeah, those are all really great points. And it's one of those things where, if you prioritize yourself first and figure out what is that you need. I mean, some people need yoga, some people need meditation, some people need to go for a 5-mile run, some people need to walk, some people need to write. Some people just need to go watch a movie by themselves. I don't know, but you have to do something that fills your cup so that you can show up with capacity for everybody else. And I know we keep harping on this in terms of how are you as a self leader. And I know people plus minus love the word balance, but there does need to be some kind of balance. Whether it's a week to week, month to month, day to day, hour to hour, there needs to be something in the day that lets you sort of reset.
Yes.
And that can honestly just be a meal, right? Like getting some more calories and just having a moment to mindfully eat. It could, and then same thing for your relationships, having time to chat with colleagues or chat with friends. A lot of times I know many colleagues of mine will call their mom or call their friend while they're commuting back and forth from work. And they just sort of know the routine is like around 5:30 or, whatever time you're stuck in traffic. That's when you get to nurture those.
I love that. I love that so much. I think it's really cool that colleagues can be your friends, but colleagues can also cause you a lot of stress because they know too much about you. And so you may really jive with hanging out with your colleagues, where me, I might be like, no, hard rule. I don't have friends that are colleagues, and that's okay. And don't go into work getting mad at those people because you need that boundary or they have that boundary. And then talking about that with your partner and being like, I work so much, I don't even have my own friend network anymore. It's either you or my colleagues. Well, guess what? At some point in time, you need somebody outside. I saw in in one of the comments that said also do time for yourself. Yeah, even if you have the best relationship ever, take time for you. Read a book that you want to read and say, I'm on my book time. I don't want to be interrupted, or I want to go take myself out to lunch, or I want to go join a new yoga class. But I know we did an exercise class before, but can I do this one by myself? Because I just need to focus on Jackie for a little bit. And that's one of the coolest things, is when you can really vibe alone and be okay with that, not be jealous. Oh, he doesn't want to be around me or something. And do stuff with friends outside of who you see every day, because then that reminds you that you're a normal human and you're not just this robot that is so mechanical going to work all the time.
Yeah, no, those are really great points. So whenever we think about the wheel of life, when we start with our clients, in the coaching relationship, we do have people sort of rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10.
Mhm.
How do they feel about their physical health, their emotional health, spiritual health, professional relationships, and the rate? Because the reality is, if one thing is sort of off kilter, then you might just need to be able to rebalance everything. And so everyone feels a little bit better once they realize, I do figure out a way to get it in. What it may not be the same frequency as somebody else. Some
Yeah.
people need more. Some relationships need less.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing, I suppose. But at the
Mhm.
same time, you do need to think about it occasionally and have a huddle and decide together in this season, right? So I think the other thing too is the season. We had a virtual summit this past December, and Dr. Lisa Muhlenbein had talked about the relationships, especially for physician spouse relationships. It's really hard because there are seasons, especially when you're transitioning between jobs, you often move 5 times within less than 6 years. And so just, having that pace also makes it really hard because you're not able to make other friends outside of just the
Mhm.
work environment. And so
Yeah.
when people tell me they don't have time, I always question that, because I would argue that if you look at your Google Calendar or your day planner and you color coded what every like 15 minutes sort of represented, you actually are doing a lot more personal time things or hobbies, or can squeeze in a couple pages of a
Mhm.
book, or meditating. You can squeeze things in even
Yeah.
if you're on a shift or commuting or sitting next to your partner. There's
Yes.
ways to do squeeze these things in.
Yeah.
And so I just challenge people to think about those types of perspectives
Yeah.
about, is everything balanced? Are you satisfied on a scale 1 to 10 of everything that you have
Yeah.
going on in your life? And then where might you maybe tweak and
Yeah.
put on the calendar so you can make sure you can see it on your calendar?
I love how you acknowledge like moving, but also the demands of a new job, especially like if it's a new residency or something, because your your life changes as you age. So we become more social or less social. We become more physically able. We become more out, kind of like the extroverted, introverted, depending on what life is going on. Maybe when you have small kids and you have a job, you don't have as much time for friends unless your kids can play together. Well, that's going to change in a few years. Are you going to ditch all those friends and not have anybody when the kids are starting to drive and they don't want mom and dad around or something like that? So when you're practicing in a relationship and making it strong and healthy, and a lot of change is going to happen, you also got to plan for the change that you don't expect. Like, you maybe thought that they were going to be in that hospital for the next 3 years. You didn't have to move right away. In 6 months in, they're like, yep, I just got a promotion, or they want me in this role. Let's pack up and move. And
Right.
you're just like, so being able to be flexible and adaptable and understand as you age, there may be more or less demands on your job or your specialty or the family unit. And so being adaptable and being able to communicate with your partner, this doesn't feel so good, or I'm a little nervous this is going to happen again, or oh my gosh, bring it on, I'm so excited for that, can make the transition so much smoother.
Yeah. So, again, you bring it right back home to being honest and communicate. And even if you don't know, even if, because a lot of the times we don't know exactly where we stand on things, but just expressing a
Yes.
lot of it helps you think out loud and be able to be honest. And if you're always honest with yourself and you're honest with your partner, then hopefully the rest will be a work in progress you both can handle.
I love that.
So, Is there anything else that I've missed, tonight that you want to share in terms of something important that you want to talk about with relationships and dating?
So we didn't talk as much about the dating. So all I'm going to throw out there is dating is tough. Okay, it is tough, especially when you work a 8 to 12 hour shift or you work a 24-hour shift on and off. Finding people in real life is difficult. Finding
Mhm.
people on social media or a dating site can sometimes be easier or even more difficult. And so when you're spending quality time dating, don't, first of all, make sure your dating profile is appropriate, because you don't want to get 50 people when you're not even going to like 49 of them. So make sure that it's accurate. And if you don't know how to craft it, that's when you come to people like me to help you, because there is no playbook that says this is going to work for every single female, every single male. And it might just need to be crafted for you specifically, because dating can suck the life out of you. It can suck you that free time. And then maybe you don't have time with your friends or doing that self care. It can also suck financially if you date the wrong style people, or you don't have the expectations set what a date looks like. So there's a lot of people that um, are divorced or single when they're working in very intense positions, and you don't want your downtime to be hanging out with people that are just going to be kind of losers, or they're not going to be. And I'm not trying to minimize that, I'm serious, because if you are not compatible, it's a losing situation. I'm not trying to label people as a loser. It's not going to be a win-win. If all you want is a hookup or just somebody to hang out with for one night, okay, that's fine. If you are really somebody that wants a companion, you want to be in a relationship with somebody, interview hard before you even waste time doing a 20-30 minute first date, because why waste your time?
I love that. Interview hard.
Interview hard. Can you tell I'm older in the dating world? It's a little different than when you're in your 20s, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah. Wonderful. And so how can people work with you?
Yeah, so I do a lot of things. So I do help with family dynamics in terms of some of the reentry work I do, and the pre-divorce things and parent-child things. I can still do that, but my passion really is really working on individual dynamics in terms of, do you want to date somebody? Do you want to be happier being single? Do you want to work on your relationship and get that intimacy or romance back in the world? So they can go to my website, justjacksadvising.com. You can also just reach me through LinkedIn. My name is right on the page here. You can DM me, or I do have Just at Jack's Advising page, both on Facebook and LinkedIn as a business page. I don't put much on the Facebook right now. I also, through the month of February, if you follow my Just Jack's Advising LinkedIn page or my TikTok page, which is Tripping with Jack's, a little different, I am doing a love word of the day for every day in February. I also, on LinkedIn, I do a weekly newsletter that goes out on Sundays, and it always has one dating tip and one relationship tip to strengthen your relationship. So if you're not sure you want to actually jump in and say, I need a relationship coach, I want somebody to help me with my dating profile, my partner and I really want to talk to somebody that could be neutral, that's not a therapist in this realm, you can check out my stuff. I'm very transparent. I am not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I promise you, I have been through almost every kind of relationship and dating situation. Learn from my mistakes, learn from the things I've learned from so many other people that could help save you time, save you energy, and rebuild that va-va-voom that everybody deserves. We deserve those little butterflies in our tummy and really feeling like somebody truly cares about us and love us. So reach out to me any of those ways. I'd be happy to talk to you. I do individual virtual sessions for if just one partner's like, I don't want them to know I'm getting help. You know what? That's not necessarily something I'm going to judge. Well, I'm not going to judge you for that, but we're going to work on talking about communication and trust when you're ready. But if you're not comfortable having your partner in the room, I can work with you one-on-one. If you and your partner want to work with me one-on-one, feel free. That's totally okay. We can do it as a group. That's not a problem. I'm not going to pick her or him. It's going to be whoever. We're going to just talk about stuff no matter what. I also do some different group sessions. So I will be launching some different group platforms where it will be anybody that's, whether they're dating, relationship, you can pick a class and there might be 1 or 2 people in it, or we might have 20 of us talking about different things. I also, Valentine's Day is Saturday. So I love that we did this right before that. I'm going live on TikTok at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm doing a live show at 4 o'clock on both LinkedIn and YouTube. And at 8 o'clock, I have a free Zoom for anybody that wants to join to just talk about love and relationships and the good, bad, ugly. And you just want a safe environment to do it that's not going to be broadcast anywhere. Totally free for that. We're going to have a good time talking about that. But reach out to me anytime. And like I said, you can follow me on the different socials. When you're ready to jump in, if you and I talk about stuff and we don't align, I can give you some other recommendations. I'm not going to say I'm the only one to come to, but I can tell you I am never going to judge you, and I'm always going to respect you. Hold confidentiality unless you threaten me or your partner, of course, then I'm going to report that. But you deserve to be happier and more satisfied in your relationship and your dating world. And if you are sworn off from dating, you're like, nope, I'm happier single, but yet I'm not happy, I can work with you with that too. So lots of ways to work with me. Reach out, follow my show if you want. It's 9 o'clock Eastern Standard every Monday. And that's not always about like love and stuff like that. It actually highlights other people that maybe if I had you on as a guest, people might realize, oh my gosh, I do need a healthcare coach. I need a leadership coach. I need this. Jackie doesn't give it to me, but wow, now I know this person. Our world is better the more we learn from other people and the more people we have in our life. So reach out if you have any questions. Lillian can connect you if you lose any of my contact information. Otherwise, I've written in the chat a little bit and I'll go back and put a link to my website too. So let me know if anybody has questions or suggestions. Otherwise, I would love to continue the conversation offline. If somebody has specific questions or want to consider working with me, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie. And I have to admit, all kudos to relationship coaches. That is one thing that I think our company does not do. So Transforming Healthcare Coaching, for those of you who are unaware, we are a boutique leadership and well-being coach for healthcare leaders of all professions. While executive coaching really has been reserved primarily only for the C-suites previously, we actually help people who are leaders in development, whether you're a nurse practitioner, physician associate. We help people all in the different inflection points of your career. So if you just are thinking about getting promoted to like assistant program director or associate manager, this is the time to get a coach. There are all kinds of things in terms of the stress that comes along with handling all the leadership roles, managing people, and also being a clinician. And so balancing it all is not easy. And so we really feel that the true next health generation of healthcare leaders requires support in an interprofessional way for both their leadership skills plus their well-being skills. The two of them really can't be separated. And so if that vibes with you and you happen to be a nurse, a physician, NPPA, pharmacist, we're your people. And so we have a team of interprofessional coaches that can provide that type of coaching. And we're all ICF certified. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. And please share this with your healthcare friends and family and colleagues. Share it with your own primary care physician or provider. We'd love for people to know more and have a different way of thinking about how important their own self-care is with relationships and why relationships really matter both for the workplace and at home. And that there are little ways, little small things. You don't need a whole entire day. You can do small things and make a big difference in your own life and in your relationships.
I love that. Thank you for all the work you do, Lillian. You and your group, I mean, you are literally transforming a very difficult position for so many people. I love you. I will be referring people your way anytime I get a chance to do that. And thank you for being a supporter of Wishful Wednesday. If you wouldn't have stepped into one of those rooms, we would have never had a discussion like this. And look how much fun we had. And we had great people in the comments. And I hope people catch this on the replay and know it's okay to reach out to Lillian and I, even after the video is done and everything like that. Thank you, guys.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Oh, and I just want to say, for those of you who are still here, thank you for making it all the way through the end. And thank you for cheering us on and putting the comments in the chat box. We appreciate that so much. Have a good evening.